Keep cross. Hi, my name is Anna.
And I'm Peyton.
And today, what are we doing today?
Today, we are back with the next episode of our debut versus recent analysis series. And we will be looking at yet another girl group this week. We will be watching MAMAMOO. Side note, really quick, we are doing other male groups in this series. It's just the way that we have it ordered. We haven't gotten to another one yet.
Yeah. Once again, if you're curious how we chose these groups, we do have a short explanation in the description box down below. But if you want the full in-depth explanation, that is in the first episode in this series. But anyways, my prior knowledge of MAMAMOO, I love them. I've been following them since like their debut year. Not right from debut, but like since 2014, and I adore them.
I also adore MAMAMOO. I have not been following them quite as long as Anna. I started following MAMAMOO in 2015, so a year after their debut, and I just love their music and I just love them. They're amazing. So usually for the series, we have been watching the debut music video and comparing it to the most recent music video. However, due to circumstances surrounding several individuals that appear in the MAMAMOO debut music video, we will instead be watching their In Countdown debut performance stage of Mr. Ambiguous, and then we will follow that with the music video for their most recent song, Hip.
Lego.
I love this styling.
I love it. Wow. They're so cute. I remember because that was also like the big mustache phase for some reason.
Oh yeah. That dance move is so like
quirky,
retro feeling. Quirky, yes, but it has like a retro feel to it. It reminds me of like swing dancing.
See, that's one of my favorite parts. The way that she says yo.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh yeah, she always had like a different hat.
I love it. I'm gonna have to remind myself to actually talk because I just love this.
Oh yeah, I was just like mouthing the words.
Oh.
And like, and it's like, cause they had that. This is in their like insa.
Oh yeah.
안녕하세요, mama. Oh, this is so like, wow.
They have always had so much personality. Like,
I love it.
I love it. Oh, I just realized she lost her mustache.
Oh yeah, I noticed that earlier.
I thought it was on her other hand for some reason. I was like, no, it's just not there.
Is it rap time?
Moonstar.
Is it moonbyul time? I'm so ready. Sorry. Oh, I love that they did ad-libs like that since their debut. Wow.
They just look like they're having such a good time.
Sorry.
I love her.
Kick it.
Oh, this is amazing.
They're so attractive. Oh my gosh. Literally, my friends and I will like play this all the time when we're like driving together or something.
These scenes that they have in it are also the scenes that they have on their like live comeback stage.
Oh.
Whoa. Wow.
That's just us this entire time.
Just wow.
Okay, little kid.
Queens. But actually, with this song, Queens. Oh.
I don't know what to say besides wow.
Oh.
She's so... Sorry. Oh. Oh.
I love though how all of the scenes in this are like female empowerment because that's like so the MAMAMOO brand.
I don't know what I would do if I ever saw them in real life. Wow. Wow.
Apparently it's overwhelming to see them in person.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh. Wow, I really have not. I think this is the quietest I've been in a.
Wow.
I love them.
Wow. Was this just an excuse for us to get to watch MAMAMOO? Yes.
MAMAMOO is going to be a little bit different from the past few videos that we've done when we talk about their growth, just because like we have these 4 distinct categories that we've created, but especially for MAMAMOO, all 4 of those are just so tied together. We'll try to divide it into those categories as much as possible, but apologies in advance if it does feel a little bit more like all over the place.
Take it away, vocalist.
God, I don't even know where to begin. I don't feel worthy to comment on them. Like I said in the beginning, how could I not love and adore MAMAMOO, because they're just such amazing vocalists, all of them. That's part of the reason why I liked them in the first place, because I was like, they are all amazing at singing. Even Moonbyo, who people like, especially in the beginning, they're always like, oh, she was the rapper. Like, no, she just has a lower voice which is why they asked her to be a rapper. And like that's the thing, it's easy to talk about their growth and be like their live stages got better because like they got more stage experience and like their endurance is building, so they sound more stable on stage. But like with MAMAMOO, they already sounded like very stable to begin with. If I were to comment on anything that has like grown or changed, I think in particular Hwasa's lower range has gotten a lot more stable, and it's also like grown in that direction, because like when we were watching the live debut for Mr. MMO, at the ends when she's singing the low notes, it does feel like they're a little sharp. And that makes sense because she's just been like dancing and exerting a lot of energy, and throughout the song she's been singing in her upper range, so having to go all the way back down, it can be kind of awkward and difficult. But I think that that's gotten a lot better just because like practicing and also more experience with that, and her range in itself has just expanded, so like she can sing lower, so those low notes in Mr. Ambiguous aren't like the extremity of her lower range anymore. I don't know what to say because they've always just been so good individually as soloists, and also like when they sing together, like all their harmonies and like ad-libs, and just like no one, I don't know what to say.
I'll go then. Dancing a little bit different just because, like Anna was just saying, they've always been a more vocal focused group, which makes sense because they're all amazing vocalists and they should show that off. And also with the smaller number, they are having more parts in each song, so there's not as much balance. You have to take that into account when you're thinking about like how tired can we make them for the dance. Like they don't have the breaks in between the singing the way that a group with more members would. But that being said, the way that their dances are choreographed and staged, they remind me of musical theater choreographies. And that I think has stayed very similar since debut, but the type of musical that they're performing has changed. So like when I was telling Anna this, she was like, oh yeah, so hip would be more like a Chicago. Whereas what would we say Mr. Ambiguous is? Like when I think retro, the first musical that comes to mind is Hairspray, but it's not exactly the same. But it's that like retro, like quirky vibe. And a lot of their earlier stages were more in that like retro quirky vibe, where they were playing more of like a quirky character in the musical, whereas now they're like the sensual, like here to show you how amazing we are and how strong we are as women, that sort of character. And when I say choreographed like a musical, I'm specifically talking about choreographed like a musical leads parts, because that's one reason that you have backup dancers in a musical, so that they can do more of the dancing and the leads can sing while still dancing. So they're a little bit more restrained. You'll notice that in MAMAMOO dances, they often don't have like full reaching movements. A lot of it is very much like in their box when they're doing their choreography. And that makes a lot of sense because their focus is to perform these songs live, and they have to be able to have the breath to do that. So I think that's really interesting.
But I guess that leads us into performance.
Yeah.
They've always just felt very comfortable on stage. But if there is anything really that has like changed a lot, it's like their facial expressions.
I do think that now though, like with just watching that Mr. Ambiguous stage compared to like thinking about their hip stages, they were a little awkward on stage, which makes sense for rookies. Like it feels more put on back then than it does now, whereas now it's like very natural.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like, because usually if I think about a person's debut performance versus their most recent performance, it's like, oh, their debut, they were like pretty awkward on stage. And while it was a little bit awkward for their debut stage that we just watched, I'm like, it's not as extreme. Yeah. You know, there was already some level or like a semblance of comfort in like on stage.
Also, just the fact that their voices are so good in that debut stage, like you would never guess they were rookies.
Right?
Like, ever. Like even if they don't get the exact camera.
I think if anything has improved for them performance-wise, it's specifically for like music shows finding the camera. Because like if you were looking at it from a live stage performance perspective, like you were in the audience, it would be great because like that part at the end where they're doing the runs back and forth, that's a duet moment and they're supposed to look at each other. But since it's a music show, they're like, oh no, you want to look at the camera. And they didn't do that, but you could tell they were looking at each other instead. So like that's the only difference. I think now they know more like to differentiate, like this is how we act for a music show performance where like the cameras are looking at our faces, and this is how we act for like a live audience performance.
Yeah. And I think also you were talking about their facials earlier, and this will help us transition into like concept image, because again, everything is so connected. We were talking about this earlier, that their facials do feel more natural now, and from our perspective, a big reason for that is they have really leaned into their image and into their concept. Like MAMAMOO is different than some of the other groups we've looked at where they've like, you know, drastically changed concepts or images. Rather, Mamamoo started with their one image and then just like has fully embraced it and really leaned into that image, which has affected like how natural they feel on stage rather than it being more of like a, oh, I have to like portray this or something.
And when we say image, we don't mean like the song concepts, because obviously like they had a more retro sound in the beginning, and now like with the most recent hip, that's very different. But like image as in like image as a group, their image as a group has always been different from like the expected and accepted Korean stereotype.
Like they're definitely more quirky and show, rather than being like over the top cute, they are definitely like lean into the whole like androgynous feel. Like Moonbyul is the perfect example. I don't know, I just feel like they're very big into like female empowerment, which is like literally what the entire hit music video is.
And then also when we're talking about concept, what's interesting about Mamamoo is when we were saying like they've really leaned into like their image as a group, they've also done that for their individual roles, I feel like, because they also have like very distinct individual like characters for the group, kind of like the Spice Girls. But like not exactly named, but you know what I mean.
On that note of like their solo like individual concepts within the group, we also were talking about how it's really interesting, since they've all branched into solo music, that the way they have delved into their solo music, rather than exploring something that's like, oh, I am a completely new artist, like I have completely shed my Mamamoo image and I'm doing something completely different, they have really kept their image as a group, and it's almost like their solo just expand the Mamamoo discography. Like they've really embraced their images that they have shown the public.
All of like the solo members' songs that I've heard, I feel like I could hear this as like a Mamamoo group song. It's just that instead of 4 people singing it, it's only 1 person singing it.
I do think though, because obviously like we've said, their song concepts were a lot more retro when they started, and now they like hip was completely different. But I don't think hip was quite the shock that it would have been if it had been like straight retro up until hip, whereas I feel like they did start to more gradually change into this sort of feeling.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure. I mean,
Starry Night, Egoistic, like they started transitioning, but it was never just like a we stopped doing retro and now we're gonna do this instead.
Yeah, and I think part of what helped that transition is because like, I know I keep talking about Immortal songs, but like that is part of it, because they were able to show a different side of themselves on Immortal songs. Like right from the beginning, people could see like, oh, they don't only do like this retro or jazzy sound, they can do this sound as well.
So I feel like we usually don't do TLDRs for the series, but I think we can kind of sum it up at least to say that Mamamoo, in the differences that we've seen for their debut through their most recent stuff, unlike the other groups that we've looked at where it has been a distinct change in at least one of the topics that we look at in our commentary, Mamamoo has more evolved and just really leaned into the concept that they changed. And so I think that's interesting, because there obviously has been change and there obviously has been growth since they debuted, but it's a different sort of change and a different sort of growth than I think people automatically think of when they hear like, oh, change since debut. Like there wasn't some complete 180 flip.
Instead it was just like a maturity to what was already there. Like they became more refined, I guess. That's all we have to say.
Sorry if that was confusing. If you all think there's some big change that we completely missed, please feel free to share it.
But that being said, if you enjoyed this video despite all of our confusion, then please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and bye!